much, Lynn. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We need your attention because we are going towards the critical hour of determining the overall winners. So the semi-finals will be composed of two groups, and we are picking the first and second winners for each of the 5 groups. First off, in the semi-finals, we are also arranging universities in alphabetical order. So the first group will have the first alphabetical order of the 10 universities. I see people are getting lost. So for each of the 5 groups, we are picking number 1 and 2. Are we clear? First and second, they are the ones going for semi-finals. But in the semi-finals, we are not grouping number 1s alone or number 2s alone. We really want to pick out the best debaters. So we are grouping number 1 and 2 in alphabetical order of the universities. Are we together? Is that clear? The alphabetical order of the universities, and as I announced, our moderator for the semi-finals and finals has walked in, the legendary Peter Chivazo. He led these inter-university debates from 2013 as a moderator. Are we together? He's back with us, more than 10 years, he's back with us to make sure that he guides us and he makes the best debaters shine. Of course, we've had fantastic debaters over the 2 years, and they were also still with us, and they will step in to help him when he needs to take a break. So, Mr. Peter Chivazo, you're welcome. You also have a host of fantastic moderators. If you need to take a quick break, you just look towards Judith and Lynn, and somebody will come to your aid. So we are going to have the best 10 universities face off in the semi-finals. In alphabetical order, on the first group, the moderator will announce who is sitting first, and they will be scored out of 10. So after the first round, you are not going to hear winners. You will wait for the second round, and then we shall announce winners out of 10. We are not going to announce winners out of 5. Are we together? And the final 5 will face off in the afternoon, in the finals. So that's the mode we are taking. Thank you very much. I wish to hand over a bit to Lynn as I brief Chivazo.
All right, thank you. Hey, you guys, is all that you can do? Hey, like you had breakfast for sure. All right, and so you have had the rules of the next session, and I'm sure you're prepared to see how your university is going to perform. Please, you have like a few minutes to start prepping your people, to excite them, to remind them that this is the time we get to see who is the best and who might be the winner for today. So, Doctor has said, we shall be calling upon you to sit here in alphabetical order, and then from there, please come down. So far, I want to appreciate that you have been amazing. I want to appreciate that you have not been rowdy. You have been very excellent. And I believe that you're such a perfect representation of what we want to see in future, of what we want to see our future leaders be. Very calm and very collected and very organized. I thank you, and I hope that we continue until the end of this day. It is a very Good Friday, as we wait to see who the winner will be. I want to also thank our esteemed judges for being very understanding and very amazing at their work, for leading and guiding us through this, but importantly, for granting us access to their brains, because then they sit and look at where we are lacking and what needs to be done. And when they tell you, take notes so that next time you're the best at it. All right? Good. All right, so I'm calling you to order, and I'm inviting Peter Chibazo to take over right now.
Thank you. Good morning, judges. Professor Mombusa, are we ready? Okay. Okay. We'll just do a quick one. I need to know who is in the hall. Are we seated by our universities? So you're going to flag your placard wherever you are, and I'll be able to read so that I see how far my glasses can take me. Disability things. Okay, I'll start with the farthest I can see. I can see Chambogo University, right? You can wave to folks and they see you. Okay, next to Chambogo University, is that Bishop Stewart University? Next time don't use red. Some of us are terrible in seeing that far. Who is this? This is Islamic University in Uganda next, right? Then, now, this one is Uganda University. What's the other word? Matters. Okay, Uganda Matters. The Matters is really faint. Gulu University, I like the Gulu. It's in my face. Uganda Christian University, you're nearer, so I can't actually know whether it is because you've done the writing right or because you're very close. Uganda Pentecostal University, Makerere University Business School. Okay, we go back to the back. Nkumba University. Oh, these ones are lately very famous. They have a new first class for a general. And the former vice chancellor of another university wants to give a retake to the good general. I don't know. I can't answer the why. Clark University, I can see you. Kabale University, is it called down there? Mutesa Royal University, I'm guessing the Royal, I couldn't read it from here. Now, Mountains of the Moon University. Yes, I've seen that one. Bugema University, St. Lawrence University, Ndeje University. Who is that at the back? That looks like Busitema, right? Okay, Busitema University. I want to guess the extreme right is Kampala International University. Okay, and then there is Kampala University. So one is national, one is international? Or, okay, I don't want to use the other word. Some people prefer to use local instead of national. Who is this? The yellow background. Mbara University of Science and Technology. Okay, I can see the yellow background. I can't quite see the words. Ankole Western University. Is there an eastern one? All Saints University, Lira. Are the saints the students, the lecturers, or the owners? Okay. I'm not fighting to be in the lure of saints. Cavendish University, Makerere University, was it intent that you sit at the front? Okay, which one haven't I read? That's everyone in here, right? So the first session, I am told that we'll have Bishop Stewart University represented by Ainebiona Marvin, and then Busitema University represented by Mugisha. We'll call them up and you'll give them a round of applause. They need to walk in big. Then Gulu University by Elisha Kakanyero, Islamic University by Tamale Ahmad, and Kampala University by Digombwe Jackson. This is interesting. Sarah and team, gender issues are not catered for here. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Ainebiona Marvin. It's okay to give him a clap until he arrives up here. Marvin, because you are the first, choose the most comfortable seat. Then put your hands together, Busitema University, Nwamanya Mugisha Evans. Okay, and then from Gulu, Elisha Kakanyero. Does the order?
Because the judges are following. So this is how the way you which way are they? Which group are you using? So this is how they should actually be sitting.
Okay. Bishop Stewart, extreme right. Bishop Stewart, extreme right. Second on my right is Busitema University. And then in the center is Gulu University. And then Islamic University, Tamale Ahmad. Okay, as Ahmed comes, we have Jackson Digombwe as well from Kampala University. Welcome aboard, gentlemen. I know that you've been given the rules, but for avoidance of doubt, the first minute is for you to pitch. Make sure that you make as much use of it as possible. You won't be interrupted, not even by the moderator. The next 3 minutes are open to your colleagues here to take you on, ask questions, interject, and then after that, we are open to the audience as well. Right? We're good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, for this session, the rules are read. The key areas are around our elections, election credibility, electoral democracy, and it's such a good timing for us. Client number 1, Bishop Stewart University. Marvin, you have the opportunity to talk to the audience. Yes, 5 minutes. The first minute is yours, Saul. The next are shared. Who's our timekeeper? You kindly raise your hand to notify them that the first minute is done. Okay. So Because you're candidate number one, close your eyes and think, what are those factors that make Uganda's election, that will determine a good election for Uganda, for a country? It may not be just Uganda. You want to go? Oh, still writing down. You don't even have to write it down. Close your eyes and think about it. Think of the factors that make a good election. One that you would like to see. One that you would regard credible. What are those factors? I would like us to go.
Good morning. Thank you so much, moderator, today. The panel of judges. Well, if I may talk about what these factors look like, or if I may frame what a good election looks like, is one that then looks at fulfilling certain insights. Number one of them would be if an election looks at fulfilling the will of the people. Now, the will of the people is certainly a big concept, which I may not so much more discuss because of the time that we have. But a good election starts with who is organizing the election, who then determines what process are we using to determine a certain electoral process. Now, in regard to that same aspect, the system in Uganda is that the EC is appointed by the head of state. Now, in that context, a good election then would simply be in the aspect of having an independent EC. And that is quite very important because at the end of the day, would have a free and fair election, which then correlates with the will of the people. Now, the EC today in Uganda, if I may take us back to the history, we had an EC that was appointed by the military council under Paul Mwanga's leadership. And in that very aspect, that individual then took off the EC and gave himself powers. And we all know that vote or that election was rigged at one point in time. So it all goes back to the EC. And that is, I think, factor number one. And that is what has been happening in Uganda today. Because over the years, even I think I may quote the case of Mama Mbabazi versus President Yoweri Museveni, where the court went on to look at the aspects of the aspects of which good election then should we have, and even issued structure interdict, which has not actually been stipulated or which has not actually been implemented in the system. That simply means that if those aspects have not been put in place, it all goes back to having a sham election, like what we've been having over the past 6 elections that we've had since the 1995 Constitution was promulgated. So the EC is quite important as an organizing body, and that is, I think, aspect number one. Number two, much as we need security in an election, it does not only depend on security that depends on military. Because yesterday, as we are talking about the military being non-partisan and how is it involved in an election, we need security that is non-partisan. We need police to be on polling stations, but we do not need the army. There is no need to bring the army on board unless there is state emergency, and we therefore need that certain aspect of state emergency.
We are open to interjections.
It is well.
Please carry on.
And going forward, if I may also talk about civil societies and the EC also doing civic engagement on ground and the media involvement. Because at the end of the day, we know that there is an election in Bukedia. We know that there is an election in Mbara, for example. But that election is not open to the public, so we might not trust the process. Or which results then do we get from an election that has not been open to citizens? And that is why I think we need CSOs also involved in the electoral process so that we get results that are free unfair because we have observers that are looking at what is happening. Therefore, the mistakes are certainly limited, which has not been happening in Uganda simply because of aspect.
Your neighbor has a question, but I also would like to ask you, does it really matter who appoints the Electoral Commission?
It really matters, if I may first answer that question. Because at the end of the day, it goes back to bias. When an EC has been appointed by the head of state, yes, much as there is an aspect of checks and balances that are then subjected to verifying the EC, but still, the EC is still subject to the appointing body, because that is what has been happening in Uganda today, and that is something we cannot go on to discuss unless we had a debate about whether we should have EC appointed or not.
I'll take the question from your neighbor, but I would like just the audience to think about it. If we secured the tenure of the EC and said you can take 7 years twice, would it change their outlook on the elections? Is it the EC that is the problem, or is it the problem is somewhere else? Or do we even have a problem?
I think from your submission concerning CSOs and the from your submission concerning the independence of the Electoral Commission, I think you said that the Electoral Commission is largely compromised now. And yet you also threw the same burden to the Electoral Commission to vet and accredit the CSOs that are going to work as observers. My question to you is that if an Electoral Commission is actually as compromised as you say it is, how then can we trust that the election observers that it has given us from each corrupt vetting is going to give us a good result?
Thank you.
Let me just answer that in a minute. Yes. Because one of the things I talked about, I did not talk about vetting of CSOs. I just talked about involvement of the CSOs. And I think that is important to note unless comprehension has been taken away from tonight's debate. But it is quite important to note that we do not need CSOs that are subjected to that are subjected to the EC vetting. CSOs are independent bodies, and then that's how it makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to believe that you believe that the magic bullet in an election is the engagement of the civil society, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure that I actually trust them as much. We'll take the second shot. Busitema University. You have 5 minutes.
Let us first of all paint
just
the idea.
hold. Breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. He's talked about the tenets that create what he regards as a credible election. I want you to close your eyes and think of Uganda. Does it fit in the rubric of what is a credible election? Would you describe it as such, and why not? Why?
I want to think that from your ideation, you're still speaking in regard to the boundaries of what democracy is. And I want to think that you are still talking about elections as an enforcement of that democracy. Now, when we talk about democracy, I want to remind you people that indeed democracy is a game of numbers, and as such the one that has the majority number is going to win it. However, we see that the problem is that the will of the people, or the will that these numbers are wielding, can be corrupted and can be compromised. That undermines the intention of democracy. Now, in the context that you're bringing the question, you will understand that in a typical democratic election, I do not think that Uganda is actually ready for it. But for a typical Ugandan election, we are more than ready. When you see that, one, the violences are still happening.
Tell me the distinction.
Can I please first submit? When you see that, one, in Kawempe we have a barracks that is loaded onto a polling station, that is typical of a Ugandan election from 1966, 1967, 1980. All that is typical of Ugandan election. Two, when you see that campaign, the opponents that are moving around on track to ask for votes are being suppressed and given and being redirected on routes where they cannot gather supporters, very true of a typical Ugandan election. So in that regard, we are actually ready. When you see that the CDF is actually rallying rallying the People's Patriotic League of Uganda. And in Article 208, you understand that the military are not supposed to actually be partisan and that they are subject to civilian authority. But when the reverse happens, and this is not new, since 1971, 1980, we have seen the interruption of the military in Ugandan elections. So when you find that, you will find that actually we are more than ready for a Ugandan election at the moment.
Just
However,
hold on a bit. Dear audience, if you intend to participate, just wave your placard after the first 3 minutes. Wave your placard, we'll be able to take your question.
so at the end of the day, you will realize that for a democratic election, which is supposed to be, this is the criteria for a credible election. One, that it has to be perceived as free and fair by all the people, that by all the stakeholders. One, the electorate. Two, the candidates. Three, just a second, I'll take it.
Hold on. We'll also take Uganda Christian University. Walk up. Do I have anyone with a microphone in the audience? Okay, just come here. Carry on.
So you find that on the intention of credibility, we are looking at one, how the participators, all stakeholders, from the electorate to the candidates and to the observers, how we perceive that this election, by process and result, has been free and fair. So when we find that all these loopholes of violence against the people against the candidates that are standing,
okay,
when we find all those issues happening, it means that from a credible democratic election, Uganda is not ready. But for a typical Ugandan election, we are more than ready for that.
Okay. I really need to understand the difference between a Ugandan election and a democratic election. But we'll come back to you. I have Uganda Christian University and Kampala University. I'll start with the lady.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. By the name I'm Shakila Ali from Kampala University. And here comes a question to Sitema. Sitema, you talked about that Musitema, you talked about that determining elections is by taking the wills of the people. So here, the question comes to you. Like, what if the people choose the wrong person?
They've decided. I'll ask anyone that comes to ask for a question, please don't even carry notes. Keep it up there, shoot from the hip.
Can I respond to her first, please?
Thank you so much. I am Elomabon Abraham from Uganda Christian University. And my question, actually, it was I was raising on a point of order to my colleague. Is it in order for him to set his own question, which is contrary to the question, because he was answering a different question to what you had asked?
Order overruled.
Okay, I think I'll start with the beautiful lady. She asked if it is in order. She asked what if the people actually choose the wrong person? Now, you see, the ideation from inception that I started it was on the basis that the will of the people or the will of the majority is what governs. If their will is wrong, it will still govern. However, what the problem was concerning the will of the people is that the will of the people has been compromised and can be manipulated through the vices of voter bribery and voter intimidation by the military, and those things alone have corrupted the will of the people to force them into a decision they are not sure is either wrong or right. So that compromise is one thing. The other thing is that is from Uganda Christian University when they say that I have
Half
set
a second out.
that I've set my own question. I think it is just
That was overruled. Take
of
heart.
how it was.
Thank you
being
very
contextualized.
much.
Can I just?
Thank you very much. Evans, thank you. This is what we're going to do for the audience. We're going to have all of them speak to us. After all of them are done, we'll allow the audience to respond for maybe 2 minutes, and then we'll give them a chance to wrap up for a minute. Is that okay? Thank you. But for you gentlemen seated here, the reason I'm going to the audience is because you're chickening out. Go for it. Okay. Number 3 is Elisha Kakanyero. Right? Elisha Kakanyero, we are back to this democracy. You have 5 minutes. I want to start from your position as a youth. You've listened to number 1, the tenets. I need you to take me to the role of these youth in a democratic election. That your neighbor says the Ugandan one we are ready for. The democratic one we are not ready for. Number 1 talks to us about the tenets of democracy. What is the role of the youth?
So, like you said, I am Elisha. I'm starting my timer now. Okay, basically, the first thing that he says at some point is that democracy is a game of numbers, but I think that is wrong. Democracy starts first from the will of the people. Then from the will of the people comes like the whole game of numbers, right? Like the will supersedes the numbers. The numbers come in as an aggregate of the will of the people. That is one. But for you to actually understand what the role of the youth are in today's election, or in a fair and free and fair democratic election process, we need to understand what the Ugandan election basically looks like. One is that we have a lot of identity politics. We are voting because of, the religions we affiliate to, that a candidate is from the region we are from and things like that. There are a lot of violences that exist in, the current democratic system or the electoral processes. That is to say that there are arrests of opposition, members of opposition political parties. There are arrests of polling agents and things like that. There is gross rigging of votes and ballot stuffing. There's gross monetization, and that is something that in the past it existed among us, like the older generation, the boomers and things like that, but it's something that has already infiltrated into the younger generation. And we can witness it through the National Youth Council elections and things like that, where the people that have the position to, take the most representatives or the most youth representatives for the National Youth Councils eventually end up as the National Youth representatives in the youth parliaments and things like that. But then also, there is, a little lack of independence or transparency when it comes to how the Electoral Commission or the Ugandan government basically works during the electoral processes, right? Basically, those are the challenges that already exist, and that is something that we as youth already notice. That then leads us to the question, what are the roles of a youth in a free and fair democratic process in our country, Uganda? One is we need to notice that, much as there are already observatory bodies that exist within Uganda, civil society organizations and things like that, we as the youth, we need to be like the first level or the first layer of observation on the ground. That is to say, when we notice things that are actually gross or things that are going wrong, we need to be the first people that talk about it. And in a really globalized society where information from a youth in Gulu quickly reaches someone in Kampala, when all of us are reporting about the challenges that exist in our worlds, it kind of makes it easier as I would say observationists to actually call out actions and hold people accountable. But then also, we need to make sure that there is a free and fair election.
Yes, you have a question from your neighbor?
Can I take him in my 4th minute?
Hold your breath. Take the question.
Okay.
Take the question.
Thank you very much. My brother has issued something that the youth do not participate enough. So I'm going to have an inquiry or an information. On several occasions, he has said that we need to put this information on media, on what to expose. It is an information. So I'm going to inform him that in several occasions, we have seen the youths exposing this, and what has been done, issues have been taken to the judiciary, and the judiciary has failed to do its role.
You're saying the youth have
we have at least tried to expose the irregularities.
Okay, so I'm going to restart my timer. His claim is that the youth have been reporting, but then the question is, how many youths are actually interested enough to actually report about the things that are happening? How many youth activists do we have in a country like Uganda? What is the aggregate number of the number of youths that are reporting about things that are happening on ground? What is the aggregate number of people who even notice that the electoral malpractices that are already happening in the current electoral process? The thing is, the aggregate is very little compared to the entire population of the youth, and most of the Ugandans are youth.
What do you want the youth to do?
I'm going to go to that. I was just answering his question because he claims we have already done that. So then what do I want the youth to do? One, I want them to act as observation, right? To make sure that we hold people accountable, but then also we kind of encourage like transparency. But then secondly, I want the youth to kind of engage in promoting electoral adjudication. Notice that most of the times, because we are not observing and because we are not reporting at the end of the day, it becomes hard for cases of rigging and things like that for people to actually get justice, for there to be electoral justice and things like that achieved. But then also we need to move from like the politics of monetization, right? We need to vote for people not because they offer to us more monetary benefit, but because they actually offer a bigger chance of actually making Uganda a better nation, a bigger chance of us actually getting more quality leaders. Those are the things that we as youths need to stand for. Those are the things that we as youths need to actually advocate for and request from our leaders. But then also we need to make sure that there is a fair ground, right? And this fair ground, we can actually promote it by making sure that at the end of the day, if you notice that someone has a good manifesto, we probably make sure that our fellows know, right? Because at the end of the day, there are some people that are contesting and they do not have kind of the finances to reach out to everyone, right? So maybe we as youths, we need to stand up and make sure that at the end of the day, everyone contesting, doesn't matter what they have or their financial background, they're in a position to reach out to all their constituents and their voters. I beg to rest.
Listening to the three, I want you to look at yourself with a job of ensuring that we have a free, fair, credible election. What are the things that would deliver that?
Thank you very much. First of all, my name is Tamale Ahmad from Islamic University in Uganda. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On my analysis, some of the things that can determine a credible, free, and a fair election in Uganda. First of all, we have to ask ourselves, what is the meaning of credible? To me, something is credible if that something is believable and it is trustworthy, and at the other time, it is reliable. So an election is credible when it is transparent in the eyes of the participants and also the international community, that it can be called to be believed to be transparent, to be trustworthy and fair. So we have seen that our electoral commission has issued guidelines for elections. And we have seen that also Human Rights Commission has called for dialogues, but we still have a question. If you look at the report of the, if you look at the report of this civil society organization, which is called the Afrobarometer, it reported that 48% of the Ugandans are not trusting the only trusting the electoral commission, which means that the rest of the population is not trusting the electoral commission.
Amen.
So this calls for reforms.
I actually believe you.
Yeah.
What I want you to do is break down the things you think that if you had a chance, you would fix to have a free, fair, credible election.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 10, 5, 3.
1. It is the call for the transparency of the electoral commission. 2, it is campaign finance regulations.
Okay.
3 is a free media space and a campaigning labor field for every participant. Then to elaborate on the transparency of the electoral commission. We have seen on several occasions, for example, on the dates of tallying, we have seen that votes in Kampala delayed to reach at the tallying station that the votes in Karamoja. We have also seen internet shutting down days to electoral to voting and days after voting. We have also seen electricity blackouts all over the country.
So go on. I'm just alerting your neighbors that they are free to interject.
We need the electoral commission to be transparent so that we can attain a credible election.
You have an interjection from the second gentleman. We'll take his.
I think that it would be better if the gentleman actually gives us more beef on what he's saying, because all the things that he's highlighting are already there. All the mechanisms are already there. But I think that what he's actually supposed to do is the more reason of how to effect these things. So
many occasions, Mr. Ahmed, the courts of law, when these cases go to the Supreme Court, the courts of law have put in place structural interdicts, which have not been implemented. So what's your take on such interdicts that are not being implemented, much as we are seeking for a transparent EC?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, all their questions raised to my question, the credibility and the preparedness. So I'm to discuss what factors should determine a credible election. So when I say that the Electoral Commission shall be transparent, I'm telling it to issue regulatory guidelines. I'm telling it to issue a prepared and a comprehensive report on how they are prepared. So I'm saying that the Electoral Commission needs to be transparent for us to believe in it and conduct a free and a fair election. That is my point. The next point is about...
Final one, final take.
I think we all understand the need for transparency. The question then is, how are you going to enforce transparency as you?
Okay. As a youth, or as me, how can I enforce transparency? I think, as a youth, this is a solution for the transparency. We should use the media. I do not advocate for use of media in violence, but I advocate for the use of media in cases of accountability. So if you see that these things are not transparent, if we see these things are in a way we do not want them, we should advocate, we should expose these issues, and these issues are going to be seen by everyone. So it will demand for a direct response which will create accountability and transparent.
Thank you.
That is my submission. However,
Thank you very much,
I
Ahmed.
pray that they have used a lot of my time.
Thank you very
I pray
much,
for one
Ahmed.
additional minute.
They'll come back. They'll come back. Don't mind. When we come back from the audience, we want it a little more lively. You're not taking a test. No, thank you. No, thank you. His time is up.
We were requesting, since we are doing POIs during our speeches, can we restrict it to 15 seconds? Nothing more than that, because it was the time of that.
Okay. Jackson. Digombwe. Breathe in, breathe out. You've listened to all of them, and the issue is still this amorphous animal democracy. People will tell you we have regular elections in this country. And you have members of parliament elected from across board. What is wrong with the elections?
Thank you so much.
They are regular. They deliver members of parliament. They deliver district chairmen, LCs. We spend a lot to get through them. What is wrong with them?
Okay, thank you so much.
Or is there anything wrong with them?
I think the issue that is arising this unending quest for this election, one, is people have not understood democracy. Democracy is not about perfection. Ugandans are looking for perfection, whereby we shall have an election without all those irregularities my panelists are outlining. But then, if at all we cannot make a perfection, what are we supposed to do to make something look credible, free and fair? Yes, guidelines and the code of conduct have been put in place by the EC. The rules and regulations are out. If at all, I don't think there is anything or an amendment or anything that is done in the electoral process that is illegal. All things are legally done. Talking about will of the people coming to vote. Yes, these people have been, there is monetization and what, but if at all somebody has that will to accept that money to go and vote for somebody because he has been monetized, is that the problem of governance or the problem with the person receiving the money? If at all we cannot define ourselves personally, then I don't think we shall attain the perfection that we are looking for. Then, talking about this unending quest on our elections being free, fair, and credible, and transparent, I don't think there is something that is missing in it, in my opinion. Why? If at all we have a Supreme Court and people trust it, we saw this in 2021 when Robert Chagulanyi took his case to the Supreme Court, but later on he withdrew the case. So does that imply that the problem was with the political institutions, that the EC didn't have the working electoral court? The court is there.
Thank you. You have a question from Busitema and another from Gulu.
One.
Quickly, Busitema, 15 seconds.
One, from what he has said, and I addressed that it should be made to look free and fair. I want you to clarify on how this is not enforcing the actual inconsistencies and irregularities in the system. Are you trying to support them or something?
Thank you. Gulu?
So I have two questions. One is...
We'll take one.
Okay. I'm going to be quick about it. One is the fact that he's saying we can't achieve perfection, right? So he's basically saying we should settle for vote rigging as long as it happens on a minimal scale. That is one. But then secondly, he's saying that we have the Supreme Court to deliver justice. But we have noticed that over times, from the 2001 election, 2006 election, all the Supreme Court justices vote that there were irregularities, but then they say that it wasn't enough to, cancel the votes. Should we continue in such a setting where they notice that there's fraud, but then they don't go ahead to serve up justice?
Okay, in definition of a democracy is majority over minority, which means there is a minority part. There is nothing like perfection of 100%. I'm not meaning that we are not looking for perfection. In democracy, we look for the majority. If at all my fellow panelists are under the minority, is the minority willing to adapt to what the majority has decided? Because if at all we have a regular election of after 5 years...
Can I ask, do you think of the process that actually delivers that majority? How do you measure the will of that majority?
Okay. How do I measure the will of the majority? One, the people come and register for voting, and these people turn up. And in the preface of the electoral process, there is campaigning. People go for campaigning, and these people, my friend was talking about monetization. But are they educated enough to know their roles, actually? Sorry. Okay. Are these civilians educated enough to know their rights or the participation or the roles in the elections, if at all? Because we can be here criticizing the ruling system, the electoral system, but do you know that even the civilians themselves have a role to play? And what role is that? That is being accountable for their votes, because if at all I cast a vote when somebody has given me money and I don't think about it, because the person I'm putting into power is going to lead me for 5 years. So are we accountable for our votes?
Thank you.
At all.
Thank you very much. I need to hear from the audience. We have 2 minutes. If your university's placard was picked earlier, drop it. If your colleague is up here, drop your placard. Okay, so I'll just read them out. You come here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ankole Western, St. Lawrence, Uganda Pentecostal, Moobs, and Clark. Please come with your placard. I need the cameraman to know where you're from. Gentlemen, just take note of which one you've been asked and you'll respond to it in 30 seconds.
Thank you very much. My name is Sarah Ngero from St. Lawrence University, and my question goes to panelists from Islamic University. In his very first and protected minute, he talked about transparency in the EC as a way of ensuring elections are done well. So the question is, how are you going to make sure that there's transparency in the EC? Because what we know, EC apparent problem is independence. It is not independent, and it is being guided by a government.
But its name says Independent Electoral Commission.
Thank you so much. My question goes to the gentleman here. I'm sorry I did not get your university, Kampala University. You talked about the majority over the minority, and you said that it is the problem of the people accepting the bribe. But we know that the majority of the people in Uganda are poor and vulnerable. So when these people bring the money, what do you expect them to do? If the leaders themselves are credible enough and they know that what they can do for people is good, why don't they come with actions? Why are they coming with money? Thank you. And to the Busitema, one question to the Busitema.
Thank you very much. But you also, why are you taking people's money?
Thank you so much. The democratic lacuna and discord that the panel is all seeing. Much obliged. The democratic lacuna and discord the panelists seem to all argue about is transparency, independency, regularities, and all that. My question is directed to my good friend from Bosetema University. You made arguments that, yes, the tenements are all in place. The tenements are all in place. My question is, don't you think strengthening institutions such as Electoral Commission by introducing multi-stakeholder appointments, strengthening Parliament by having the legal committee having the mandate to overrule decisions and passings that do not conform to Article 92 to overturn rulings, and as well strengthening government itself through conforming to these laws is the line of argument than just arguing tenements of transparency, regularities, and all that. Thank you.
My name is Bariji Kenneth. I'm from Western University. My question goes to BSU. How sure are you that if the CSOs are introduced in the electoral process of Uganda, won't they also be victims of the bribery and intimidation, which is the case as it has been happening to the electoral processes and the bodies also?
Thank you. My question goes to the man from Gulu University. The gentleman from Gulu University, my brother, thank you. You talked about the youth. Shouldn't our focus be on transforming the corrupt political systems rather than expecting the youth to transform democracy within them?
Thank you very much, the audience. We'll start from here, going backwards. So these are your parting shots. Take a question, answer it. You have 30 seconds. If the timekeeper allows you an extra 5, you go.
Okay, food for thought. I would like to inform my sister who has asked me a question. If a student goes to school to study and a boy seduces this lady, and this lady reaches a point of dropping out of school, is it a problem for the man or the lady who accepted the man? But then, it's a food for thought. And then issues of election.
Is the lady a minor in this case?
Of course, because if at all it is not rape, then it is the mentality of the lady to accept that. So if at all these poor Ugandans have accepted to take money from the leaders, it is a problem with them. Do you have a case that the leaders have you ever heard of an incident that the leader gave out money and the people refused and this person was complaining? If at all these people took the money willing, it is of their own will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me say this about the money issue. Both the receiver and the giver are as evil as each other. And it becomes even worse when the receiver acts because they received.
Thank you. I think a colleague misunderstood my question. What you asked me was, as a Ugandan, what should we do to attain a free and a credible election? And my response was, we should have, before we attain a free and fair election, we should have a transparent electoral commission. That was my response. Not what